Today we're talking about the Levitz paradigm. This is something that can enhance your storytelling by making you a little bit faster. The Levitz paradigm was created by Paul Levitz and it's used to sort out the different storylines with DC Comics, like with the Justice League. This was used for when you have multiple characters who all have some significance and bearing on the story, and you could write your A character, B character, C character, the most important lead one, second most important, and then like your, I don't know, comic relief or something. It's like that. You could basically think of your characters as like Lego pieces that could layer in, maybe even like music, you could layer in your stuff. Legos was a bad example. You have your drums, your guitars, and your keyboards, and you layer them in different times to create the effect you want as far as your orchestration of words goes. As far as your story goes, you're going to be orchestrating, the beginning, the middles, the endings. Just think of it like that. I mean, you can just break it down to 3 at a time. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you a way that I create a Levitz type paradigm when I first start. I'm in Microsoft Word, so the first thing I do, I'll create something like a table with about 9 boxes. This will be my ending right here. Let's go ahead and do that. Begin. Obviously. Something like, depending on what the story is, I would do something like maybe second turn. These are screenwriting terminologies. You have a climax, which obviously would be near the end. As far as the Levitz paradigm goes, usually, like I said, when I'm screenwriting, it'll be for something that's, let's see here. Oops. It'll be for something that's like 30 minutes to an hour. I'll do something like that. 30 minutes. Over here. Let's do something like this. Like that. I would use these different place markers for different things. But what would happen is, see, you start off, because you can always do this, do something like B character. I mean, you're just what you're doing here. I mean, obviously with this kind of stuff, you're mostly just typing things, putting stuff on the board. With me, I know where things are gonna fall. I know where things are gonna place and add up. Now, this when I have an A, a B, and C, when I put it down, I usually associate an A, B, and C with beginning, middle, and end. It's just simple. I could add more. I could put more stuff in there and pad this up. Let's say this is a really important character, the A character. Like, let's say if it was like a comic book, I would do something like add maybe at least two different parts in here inside the story. But really, I would probably do 3 to even 4. It depends on the story, but still, I know you have like a lot of characters. Let's say with this one, we're doing 3 characters. I said I'm not showing you something that's a theory to me. This is just how I write. Do the beginning here. Intro. I said I'll usually use screenwriting terminologies. So this will be a turn. A turning point is just when this character goes through a change or when circumstances change for them. Go climax end. So you see that this is what I'm doing with A, B, and C. It's just real quick shorthand for, That's what I'm doing here. So the beginning, A, B, B, C, C. Like this is just what's happening in this scene. It's what's probably going to happen is an A and B thing where one introduction, something else happens, and then another introduction, and then something, and then another introduction here. Like I said, don't quite know how the story's going to end, but let's just go ahead and see where the cards lie. Like I said, I'm just going to sort of rip off one of the stories I've done lately. I think there's the Prophets. I'm working on Janaya right now. I think Janaya is a story about these space miners who find a genie and, you know, stuff happens. So the intro, character 1. A character, let's do... His name was Rashid. Rashid. Other one... Mansour. This takes place in the United Arab Emirates, so it's 3 of those. And... Caleb. There we go. I think Caleb, it's like an artificially intelligent counselor. I don't know, the things are different there, but you know, it's basically a robot. Intro, Rashid. What does it do at the very beginning? I don't know. Let's see where he. Let's see him working as a space miner. The turn. He encounters Jedi and wish to in a space accident. The ending. There. So when you're working on a brand new story, you're not going to have everything all laid out the way I just did. With, you know, your plot points that are working and you have your ending all worked out. I mean, maybe you will. But here's what we're doing here. You're going to be able to take your A, B, and C, your B, A character, your B character, C character here, and because honestly I could just sit here and keep writing this stuff out, but you see where I'm going here. You put it inside of your little grid here. This is the events happening in time. This is going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you know, all the way to the ending. I usually do a box like this because to me it's simple. It's a very clean cut. Here's the middle, here's an ending, here's the beginning, and you have a couple of paddings right there where you sort of build up to the end. I mean there's nothing stopping you from doing more. In other instances, when I have written in the past, that is to say, I would do something like this, where I have, is this something like, yeah, it's like this, because I wrote episodics before. Spelled that wrong. It's like, something like that, or I'll have like the episode right here. There's Act 1 and then there's of course this is Act 1, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then I'll write out what's going on with the episode. these things happen, that things happen. I mean, it's not always character one, two, three every single time. I mean, you just switch around to what's relevant. Oops, what'll be relevant for the different episodes. I have outlines for some of my other shows that I could show you. See, I'm not a tried and true Hollywood. Whoops, what did I do here? I'm not a tried and true Hollywood screenwriter, but I have wrote screenplays before, and I've written an entire first season, which later on turned into the novel Crucible of Worlds. And I'm going with the subtitle, and it's The Industrial Witch Complex. I think that's a pretty cool title, because honestly, a lot of my work there is inspired by like industrial music and stuff. But let's get back to the Levitz paradigm. Alright, just like I said before, I do actually use the Levitz paradigm to outline my stuff. This isn't a true Levitz paradigm. This isn't A, character B, character C. But, because this is just the events unfolding over the course of time. However, I do use the Levitz paradigm when it comes to plotting an episode. When I break one of these down into the parts that I'm going to write, because one of these could be one episode. Each one of these blocks could be one episode, and that's how I wrote before. What I'll do later on, because you see these highlights right here. Mansour is one name, Rashid is another name, Sheikh Khaled is another name. These are 3 characters. When I really seriously break this down to write a story, what's going to eventually happen is there's going to be a lot of parts where this highlighter come up, that highlight, the yellow, blue, green, and it's just going to be parts here and there where different people are mentioned inside the script or inside the story, and they pop up in different places depending on the relevance of the story and depending on how the arc of the stuff is going to go. I don't know. I mean, honest, to me it seems really obvious, but and maybe to a lot of you it does. But this is just sort of the technical readout, the blueprint of how things will break down. Sometimes this goes down farther. There's 9 of them. Act 1. For me, this is just a 20,000 word story, short story. These guys find a space genie, and people worship it, and then it almost destroys the world, and they end up destroying it. It's really, really simple. And then some Clive Barker type of stuff, like Wishmaster or something. And to me, it's just simple. Like the reason I would start writing a short story or something else, let's say like just a regular old script, half an hour, 1 hour, because I'll do a pilot episode, just at the drop of a hat, just when I think of a good episode of something. What I'll do is I'll think about all the criticism I got before, not in a hateful way, but it's like, here's where you can improve. Because when you go to people who are serious about writing, they'll give you good criticism, and you could really build off that stuff. So sometimes I'll hear things like, your characters aren't enough this, the dialogue is that, the descriptions of your places are this. That's not a reason to stop writing ever. That's a reason to write better next time. And there should be a next time really soon, every single time. With me, I wrote so many different screenplays that turned into nothing. I finally decided, what? People should have a chance to at least, approve or not approve, be bored with or excited over my stories, because I have a story to tell, and, honestly, I'm not just going to keep it to myself, forever. I think my stories deserve some life, just like your stories deserve life too. Now, this is just one way to break down the gigantic task of writing a bunch of stuff. For me, this is 20,000 words easily broke down over time. What you're doing mostly with this, you're overcoming the middle of your story. That's the main reason why you would plot or garden, selectively place things here and there. You would garden stuff to break through your middle and get to the awesome ending hopefully you thought of over and over again, when this first started. The ending is what people are going to take away the whole time. With me, there's got to be a killer ending, because if you look at different people's writing advice for screenplays and sometimes even books, novels, their bestsellers, your ending counts for a lot. It counts for as much as your beginning. Your beginning will get you not hired, but an advance by a publisher, by a publishing house. Your ending will sell your script if they read it that far as Hollywood screenplay people go. And some of them, when you pay them readers, they'll have notes here and there all over. But still, your ending counts for a lot. People are willing to forgive a lot of your mistakes with great endings as far as screenplays goes. And as far as novels go, I don't know. One, break through the middle. With me, it was easy. I mean, I just plotted my way through it. But also, again, your beginning counts for a lot. I mean, you need to be on your best behavior, literally speaking. I don't even know if that's a word, but as far as your picking your words goes, you need to be on your best behavior. That way, when they're out to date with you and your book and your words, they're impressed in the first place and they want to know more. They're interested in taking your book for long nights out in their own personal space and reading it. And that's what you got to think about when you think about the beginning. As for the ending of your novel, you can end it any way you want. Just take in consideration, don't be cliche. Don't be that person who's the last person inside of the members only jacket club. Alright. Alright. Like I was saying before, I plotted an entire first season, which later on became a novel. Because honestly, here's how I started. I wrote an entire screenplay for a pilot episode. Just like a lot of people do in Hollywood. You just write yourself a spec script. A spec meaning nobody's paying you to do it. You're just doing it because, in some small way, writing is like your lottery ticket. You're just putting in your hopes on something that could be on your writing thing that could become a big giant something. So I wrote my spec script for Crucible of Worlds, and this was episode 1. And then it just sort of dawned on me after, put it inside of some competitions and giving it some notes here and there. It's not going to ever be something because, well, it's not like it would ever, but it won't be something unless somebody, chooses it. Unless the right pair of eyes read it, the right people find it, this and that. So what I wanted was more control over my stuff. I wanted to put out a thing. I wanted to keep writing in the first place, which is why I kept writing. And I was like, if I make a book, then at least I'll have a book. I'll have my book, Screw the Hollywood thing, screw the system. I want to keep writing. I have a story to tell, and I just kept going. With that, I was like, all right, now that it's more than a screenplay, a pilot episode, how am I going to write this book? So the first thing I did was a one-page treatment, just like any other story. What am I doing here? What's it about? Let me just sell myself with one page. Started off with one page. Here's the treatment. Later on, I broke down that page into what's going to happen later on, and I added stuff later on. But like I said before, earlier in the video, I use highlighters to indicate which character goes where. The main character is blue. The red one is the villain. And other colors besides that are usually like transitory characters that go from good, evil, and shift, between different, depending on the episodes. And you can see here it goes and it goes and it goes. These characters keep getting added, and you can see it's not always the main character heavy episodes. Even though when I do this kind of thing, like I said, I am using the Levitz paradigm with this. When I'm juggling these characters, I'll usually throw at least two different scenes with the main characters in there to establish that they're the main characters. As for the villain, it depends on whether or not you need the villain, but still, you can see sometimes, I think in this one, the villain's not always there. I mean, Yulamoth is the ultimate villain, but still. The Abelona, which was the other one, Abelona right here, she's the other main villain. She's like the Cersei of this place. She's not always in every episode. She's not really the main thing. Yulamoth is. And there's all these characters you can see again. Keep crisscrossing and crisscrossing. I wrote 19 episodes of this, 30 pages each, and then later on turned all that into a novel. Just some boards down here. A little bit of vision boards just to sort of, help guide me, ground me into the world that I was creating. And that's it right there. I mean, you can see what I did here is highlighters for the characters, plotted out these different events. I linked the events first, and it started off with this grid inside of Microsoft Word. And I said, when it comes to something like this, I was basically selling myself the story the entire time. If I thought that it wasn't worth pursuing, then I would have shut it down or just kept rewriting. But I kept making it work and making it work different ways and just kept pursuing it all the way till episode 19, which when I wrote the thing full and through, I started in October and ended in January, so it's around 4 months. With some breaks in between. All right. My final thoughts on the whole Levitz paradigm. Like, number one, of course, obviously, people still use it because it's a classic. It's really good. And 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air Super Sport. It's one of those. But yeah, that's that good stuff I'm smoking. Anyways, my closing thoughts on the Levitz paradigm, and it's really just sort of like story writing in general. I mean, people have this huge argument over like plotting versus pantsing, which is yeah, I'm also drinking some stuff too. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. I mean, yeah, I'll be the first to admit I've been drinking throughout these different cuts of these videos throughout the day. But anyways, as far as the Levitz paradigm goes and plotting goes, plotting doesn't have to be you writing the entire story all out. I mean, honestly, it's just you keeping track of the good stuff. It's just you putting down your great ideas first before you go in super deep inside of every scene, pantsing away, making things up as you go, sort of knowing some semblance of where your story is going. I mean, honestly, with me, and I know with some pantsers and some plotters also, the story can hit you almost like a lightning bolt. The whole entire thing will just come to you like in a big flash. The beginning, middle, ending, how you sort of, with me, it's like I sort of gauge a story by how I feel about it, different parts, whether it grabs me here, whether it makes me angry there. I mean, the whole point of these different story ideas I'll come up with is where they have these different themes, and the theme is, blank, blank, and blank. It's like it sort of arcs, the emotional impact follows the arc of the story, or at least the theme, and that's where it pulls from. But anyways, as far as this whole Levitz paradigm goes, it's an easy way to juggle your characters. You don't have to completely, you know, you don't have to completely plot away when it comes to this. Because I know you hear something like a paradigm, or you hear something like plotting and stuff like that. You think that it's all about the structure, and it's all about sticking with your structure. I've I've plotted away and I've used the Levitz paradigm and I've planned out my story. Even then, I had to write an entirely new episode because of the way that characters organically grew throughout the story. The story got bigger than I planned by one episode. And there was, of course, new characters added here and there, different locations, different types of technologies and magic that was happening inside of the story that I added here and there. I even had to go back and retroactively add things back to the beginning of the story just to make more sense. And yeah, so it's like your plotting does not have to be cast in stone. It could organically grow, and that's what should happen every single time. Your actual story should always be better than your plotting every single time. That's just what happens. Like, honestly, you give yourself enough stories, you'll outgrow your plots every single time. As far as the Levitz paradigm goes and all this, check this out. Plot A, plot B, C, D. See this? Good old Levitz paradigm. As far as your great big wide blank page goes, there are different, martial arts that you could use, different styles that you could use to defend yourself from being overwhelmed by the blank page. That's what people talk about all the time. With me, a blank page is just plot points waiting to be hashed out. When the story Janaya gave myself about a week to write 20,000 words, I'm sort of ramping up to NaNoWriMo, just sort of flexing some writer muscles until I do this other story that I call Earth Number 1 around that time, and that's going to be one of my favorites throughout the year. And I, really need to, it's a fly, really need to get the book cover going for Crucible of Worlds, and that's that. The book's already written, it's already edited, and it's already formatted. It's just ready. ready for a book cover, really. That's all that's going to be there. But yeah, uh, plot away, pants away, garden away, architect away. However you do it. When it comes to writing, the best way you could do it is the way that it gets done. I mean, I used to actually go out there and pan for gold, just for fun. I didn't ever think I was going to get rich from panning from gold. But here's the thing. It was fun to go to the creeks. It was nice to have those experiences. And honestly, the drives were pretty nice. We went out to creeks, different creeks in California. For somebody like me, it was pretty fun to go play in these different streams that you normally never even see. And one thing that I've heard from Tom Massey, who used to be a celebrity, I don't know if he is now. He was famous. He had a show called Gold Fever, and I met him, and he had a catchphrase. And here's the catchphrase: "Gold is where you find it. Good stories are where you find them. Good ideas are when they happen." I mean, you can sit around waiting for inspiration all day, or you could punch the keys and just give yourself a chance to strike gold inside yourself. Alright. Go ahead and get writing. I'll see you next time.